Hi everyone, what do you think is wrong with my 2-pot Shimano XT brakes? Numerous times this year I was told that I was missing out not using 4-pot calipers. So why don't we take a look at these brand new Deores and see what they're about. Apparently it was eBikes that prompted Shimano to produce more 4-pot calipers for the masses. They first had the XT8020 to go along with the Signed and Z for downhill, but today we have for each 12-speed Grupo a 2-pot and a 4-pot caliper version, and we also have the non-series MT420 and 520 4-piston caliper brakes. Each Shimano 12-speed Grupo provides share levers for Deore, that's M6120, and they offer specific calipers. M6120 is for 2-pot calipers, 6120 would be for 4-pot. When it comes to the levers, they use the new iSpec EV bar clamp. It's a 2-piece that also uses this extra touch point for 10% more stiffness felt on the lever. It has a modified servo wave for more modulation. These are for cross-country and trail riding. I did do a review of the 2-pot calipers in which I put this right next to the XT. Make sure you check that out. But in quick summary, the lever shape is the same, is missing the dimples just like the SLX. The reach adjust uses a hex key as opposed to a knob. The bite point adjustment is missing just like it is on the SLX, and this is very similar finish to the XT. Mineral oil is used in here, which we know, and here on the back you're gonna see the product code M6120. These are made in Malaysia, and for those that always wonder what 22.2 means, that's the clamp diameter here next to your grips. I bought my 4-pot Deore's OEM, so I don't have the original box, but if we look at this XT box, you can clearly see how they use the same lever with either a 2-pot or a 4-pot caliper. And whether you bought the brakes retail with all the hoses disconnected or OEM with everything connected, I do have a couple of videos on my channel for installation. But with the main difference being in the calipers, why don't we focus more on those? On the back of the caliper you see the model number 6120 for the 4-pot, 6100 for the 2-pot. They're both made in Malaysia. They use the same BH90 hose, the 1 meter for the front, 1.7 meter for the back, and both calipers have this straight in connector for the caliper. There's no banjo like you would find on the XT or SLX. Hose still connects to the caliper to the inside, however the bleeding port is in a different spot, and overall the XT and SLX calipers look different. If you look at this Deore caliper and at the MT520 non-series caliper, I believe they are rebadged versions of the same product. Cotter pin or retaining pin for the pads is the same on both, and Deore only has post-mount calipers in the lineup. Brake pads are still removed from the top, and you can have the brakes with resin or sintered non-finned pads. And this is where the magic happens. You have two 18 and two 16 millimeter pistons as opposed to the old 22 millimeter piston. The other big difference here is the material used. The 2-pot Deore uses resin, and it looks like the 4-pot Deore uses ceramic, just like the more expensive versions. That is approximately 20% more piston area that, according to Shimano, translates into about 15% more braking power on the 4-pot calipers. Just like with the 2-pot, you have the spring in between the pads, and you can see how much bigger the 4-pot brake pad is. This means not only more braking surface area, but also means that it has the ability to cool faster. Here's the catch though. If the 2-pot caliper can take the ICE Technologies finned pads from XT, XTR, and SLX with no problem, Shimano took away that ability for these new Deore 4-pot calipers. So the N04C metallic pad and the N03A resin pad with fins won't fit in this new caliper as they seem to be too shallow. I mentioned that the caliper design is very similar to that non-series M520, that might be the reason why. Which means that you are stuck with the D03S resin or D02S metallic pads unless you look at the ZN signed, the old pads with fins. The H018 resin and the H03C metallic pads from Signed and Z seem to fit in here just fine. They don't follow the contour of the caliper perfectly, but I believe the pad reaches down enough. And here's the D03S that these brakes came with. On my caliper, I'm going to keep those resin pads with no fins. Always remember to secure them by bending the tip of that pin. Weight of the rear with 1.7 meter hose is 324 grams. Weight of the front with the 1 meter hose is 305. The 2-pot version of the front brake is only 14 grams lighter than that. So weight shouldn't be a reason to avoid these 4-pot brakes. Shimano Deore series rotors are very similar to these RT66 SLXs, but they do come only in center lock. But you can use these brakes with any Shimano rotors, 160, 180, 203. And instead of just showing you the Deores next to my XTs, what I thought I would do is just replace the front 2-pot XT brake with my 4-pot Deore, see if I notice any difference. And here I am at Hardwood Ski and Bike, the host of the 2015 Pan Am Games. If you've never tried it, Hardwood is one of the best mountain bike venues in Ontario. Yeah. From the fast and flowy,
another one. Oh.
To challenging sections like Bone Shaker, and many other sections of the Pan Am Games cross-country tracks.
This is the sketchy part because of that drop. Oh, this is nothing. Woohoo! Too much fun.
All right, folks, some super fun riding today. Did I tell you how much I love my Yeti SB100? Holy smokes. Do I love it more with a 4-pot brake up front? One thing that I noticed right away on the brake is it bites hard. So if you are grabbing a whole lot of lever here, you're gonna probably go over the bars really quickly. So more power, probably. Different feel of the lever, not as much. Very similar to what I feel here on the rear. I noticed that I don't have the dimples here, but I don't anymore. And I totally understand people that say, hey, I put my 4-pot brakes on, I don't feel any difference. The thing is, you get used to whatever you have rather quickly. And yes, I do have 10-15% more power for my front brake, and that's great, but I don't think I would put it in the rear because I never feel like I'm lacking power here. But what do I think about the 4-pot Deores? Well, I'm a bit disappointed that they are not the same calipers that XT and SLX use. I'm wondering if the M520, the non-series, is pretty much the same thing, but cheaper. When it comes to braking power, modulation, I think they're fine, but I'm probably the wrong guy to talk about that because I'm fine with the 2-pot calipers as well. And I'm gonna keep them and install them on the common style Meta that I started building recently. If you guys haven't seen that on my channel, you might want to check it out. And I thought I would finish the video right there, but you know what? After riding these one more day on the local trails, they're kind of growing up on me. It's not the extra power because you get used to that, but I think it's the way it comes in. It's very smooth, and that would probably qualify as better modulation. The 2-pot brakes are plenty powerful, but they're definitely a bit more on-off. So if you don't mind the extra weight of the 4-pot calipers or brakes, or the extra price tag because they're more expensive than the 2-pot, I think I would highly recommend them for trail riding for sure. Definitely for something more like enduro. And by the way, the downhill guys are using the XTR versions of this. What about you folks? Do you use 2-pot or 4-pot Shimano brakes? Do you have any experience with the 520s? Are they any different than the Deores that I described here? I would love to hear your comments. If you found this useful, Don't forget to like, subscribe, keep an eye on social media, and until next time, hope to see you guys on the trails. Cheers guys, cheers!